Wow, I'm so excited to be here, 24 years after graduating from this great institution. How many of you have had an experience that you never forget just because of the way it made you feel? Yeah. So when I was 6 years old, I was in a class on that morning. And my teacher called myself and one other girl to come out for a role play. So the girl went first, delivered an excellent speech. And when it was my turn, I opened my mouth, but I couldn't find any words. I tried and tried. And the more I tried, the more the words wouldn't just come out. After what felt like an eternity, I was finally able to find some words. But it was not what I expected. They were distorted, disoriented, and so incoherent that even I could not listen to the sound of my voice. It was horrible. The teacher must have seen that I was struggling and decided, put me out of my misery and tell me to go back to my seat. So while I was going back to my seat that day, I thought to myself, I need to do everything possible to make sure that I never get into this situation ever again. I'm going to be silent as much as I could. And that was when I knew that I couldn't communicate like everyone else, that I had speech impediments and I was a stammerer. And I tried to live up to that promise while I was going through school and even after school. So I'm one of those guys that, those guys that come to school, they want to sit at the back, corners where the teacher will not see them so they can ask them questions, pretending to be focused and studying because you don't want anyone to call you and say, answer this question. I remember one time I was doing my final year project after I had graduated, and we were 4 of us trying to defend our project work. And I quickly volunteered to be the one that would operate the machine. I learned how to use my hands a lot because what you can't say, hands can actually do it. They didn't know why, but somebody else presented while I did the work at the back. So I was the king of the back seats. Yeah, I loved it very much. I was never in the limelight. I hated it. Fast forward, I graduated, and it was time for job hunting. So I couldn't hide anymore. And I quickly got used to the phrase, "we'll get back to you." In fact, it was my friend, because nobody used to get back to me. There was this one interview. It was with a multinational oil and gas company. I had prepared for it so well. The interview day came, and I went there. As soon as I heard the first questions, "Tell me about yourself," all my structure, the strategy, everything I had went out of the window. And there came anxiety. I was shaking. I couldn't answer the simple questions as simple as that. So I stammered all through. It was very embarrassing, humiliating. And I told myself, "Reuben, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just speak?" Years later, I decided to go for my master's degree. And I went to the University of Manchester. And I quickly joined the Manchester Nigerian Student Society. In one of the meetings, it so happened that was when they were trying to elect new officials. So I decided to put myself forward and said, "Yeah, I want to join." Then I went for the position of the president, and I became the president of the Nigerian Student Society. Okay. Well, that was easy. I didn't have to campaign, by the way. If not, they would have found out. And it happened that 3 weeks later was when they were planning to have the Nigerian Independence Day in October 1st, 2004. So I decided to make a speech and, read a speech while I opened the event. It wasn't required. So as I was having that debate within myself, the DJ just called me. So I had to stop everything. I couldn't anymore. So I stepped out. And when I stepped out and I saw the people again, I just told myself, Reuben, relax. You've got this. And for the first time, I was able to speak in front of people without stuttering. And I had a huge round of applause that day. Nobody has ever applauded me for anything prior to that time before. But I'm not sure if it was for my speech or if it was for the artist that was coming in. And that was D'banj, by the way, when it was up and coming in 2004. But guess what? I won't let anybody rob me of that happiness that day. I didn't care. I took the applause anyway. And I celebrated it. You know, I took it. I built confidence with it. But again, I wasn't ready for it. But I decided to step up and try it anyways. And that was my first success and my turnaround point. So while I had that under my belt, I thought again, what next can I do? What's the next challenge? I said, okay, I'm going to get a job. And I looked for a job and I found one. Be careful what you wish for sometimes. I got a telesales job in the UK as a student. It was just 2 hours, yeah, because I was a student. So imagine this. A stammerer trying to sell insurance over the phone with a Nigerian accent to a British consumer. You see the complexity? But I did well. I lasted 3 months on that job before I got fired. And the reason, oh, you didn't meet your target. So you're right. Of course I knew I was not going to meet my target. But I was happy and I thanked them. And I'm sure they would have said, why is this guy so happy? Can't he say that he just got fired? They didn't know where I was coming from. That for me, that was a huge step I've taken in my life. Because if I was them, I would not be hiring me in the first place. But I'm sure they changed their hiring process after I got fired. So since then, I've been attempting challenges upon challenges. Trying to do things even when I'm not ready. I've failed a lot, but I've learned from those failures, and I've taken those learnings into attempting other great opportunities that I've had to embark upon. I've always dreamt to have a career that spans in multiple countries across Africa and the world. I wanted to see the world through my career. I wanted to engage people, not be at the back end. And I must say today, I'm glad that I'm fulfilling that dream. I have worked in multiple countries in Africa. I have helped multinationals strategize, develop their business, and grow their revenue. I've engaged captains of industries, leaders, senior government officials all over. And also, I have been invited to speak in multiple events where I'm championing the cause of digital transformation across Africa. I have also advocated for the cause of internet penetration in Africa. It might interest you to know that we've got over 50%, that's close to 600 to 700 million people in Africa that are not connected. I've advocated for them, I've been their voice. Not because they don't have a voice, they were not stammerers, but just because they cannot be heard, they are in remote and rural areas. The irony is not lost on me how far I have come and how I've been able to use or convert my greatest or my biggest challenge into my greatest strength. I would just like to share with you a couple of tips to tricks that I normally use, that I used to overcome my stammering, and I still use to date. Number one, when I'm embarking on anything like I did for stammering, I ask myself the question, why am I doing this? Why do I want it? For stammering, I know it was a no. I had to overcome it to be able to achieve success in life. So I went and worked hard on it and overcame it. The second point, I take things easy. I break them down one step at a time. Like the way I delegated the speech and just did the introduction. That was a small step, but it was a good step because it gave me confidence. The third one, I celebrate my small wins. No matter how small it is, try to celebrate it because nobody knows where you're coming from. They don't know how far you've come. Like when I was able to make that speech that day, I felt like I won a $10 million lottery as a student. And the fourth one is, I surround myself with people that will support me. You know those kind of support system that will tell you, oh, don't worry, you're doing well. You know, not the one that will tell you the truth. Those kind of honest friends, you don't need them now. Yeah, they've got their time, but this is not where you need them. And I was able to get support from a society called the British Stammerers Association, where I joined groups, therapy sessions, and focus sessions just to help me overcome it. And lastly, I did it afraid. All the things I've tried to achieve in this life, I was never ready. I'm always afraid to do it. But I step into it anyways, because if I don't step into it, I will never do it. If I did not step up on that day to come on and speak and to engage the students, I don't know where I would have been, but definitely I will not be here in front of you speaking. So, in the words of, I would like to end with this, in the words of John Asher, the ship looks safe on the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. They are built to sail and take people to interesting places to see the world. Take yourself like that ship. You were not built to be anchored safe in the harbor. You were built to explore. You were built to take up on challenges. Step out of your comfort zone. That's what you're built for. You have the capacity, the tenacity, but you will never know if you don't explore it. So I want to urge you today, don't be confined in your fear and your safety nets. Step out of that comfort zone. I'm not sure what the barriers is that you have. Mine was stammering. Whatever yours is, you can conquer it. Because it's only when you're uncomfortable and you stretch yourself that you will be able to achieve anything that you're destined to achieve. The world is large for you. The world is open for you. But if you don't go out there and you're sitting in your comfort zone, there is no way you will know what you can actually do. So step out of your comfort zone today. Take that step. The world is waiting. Thank you.